Hi everyone, it's Marisa from bumblebeeapothecary.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make something beautiful using tallow and blue tansy. Together, these two things combine to make the ultimate anti-inflammatory duo. So blue tansy is known for its powerful anti-inflammatory properties, and when you combine it with the nourishing benefits of tallow, you come up with something that's amazing for irritated skin, in my experience. So I'm going to show you a wonderful way that you can incorporate this into your skincare routine. So I'm going to start with my rendered tallow. So I have another video on my channel where I show how to render tallow using a method that makes it so that it is light in color, as odorless as possible. It's a really wonderful method to use for rendering when you want to use tallow for skincare and you don't want any of that beefy essence in it. So I'll link that video down below. It is one of my most popular videos of all time, so you might be here because of that video. If so, thank you. And I hope that you enjoy this one, but I'll link it in case you haven't seen it. So I have some tallow here. So this one ended up being a big batch that ended up to be 2 cakes. For this recipe, I'm just going to use a smaller amount of tallow. So I have this. You can also use already rendered tallow that you buy from somewhere else. It is common for that type of tallow to have a bit more of a beefy aroma to it, so just be aware of that. It's not going to impact its benefits for your skin or anything. It's just something to be aware of. It'll still work for balm if you're okay with that. So I'm going to start by melting my tallow. This is beef tallow, but you can also use lamb tallow, bison tallow. Any of those similar grazing animal tallows are going to have very, very similar benefits and work great for a recipe like this. So I'm going to start by melting this down so that I can easily measure the amount that I want to use. So in order to melt down tallow easily for something like this, in a measuring pitcher, you can create a little double boiler with a pan of water, and I like to put a cloth in it and then put a pitcher inside there. That way it just kind of protects the glass while it's heating up. Put my pieces of tallow in there, and then I am going to put this over some heat to melt it. Okay, so it is part of the way melted. My water is at a nice simmer. I'm just going to turn that down to more like medium so it doesn't get too carried away, but still provides some nice heat to let this completely melt. While we're waiting for the tallow to continue melting, let's talk just a little bit about the ingredients that we're using here and why they are so incredible. So we are using blue tansy essential oil today. I like Plant Therapy a lot for essential oils. They're not a multi-level marketing company or anything. They just sell essential oils, and they have very high standards that I really appreciate. They also have this really handy guide that tells you what essential oils are safe for kids, for pets, different things like that. And blue tansy is one that they have said is kid safe, so that's very handy. We'll talk a little bit more about some ways that this could be useful for kids. But it's in essential oil form. It has a gorgeous blue color that you're going to see in a little bit. And then there's tallow, which if you're familiar with my other tallow videos, you know what amazing benefits tallow has for the skin. It's nourishing, it's hydrating. It is very similar to our skin cells biology, so our skin just recognizes it and drinks it right in. You'll notice the first time that you use it how it just absorbs right in, and your skin is like, yes, this is what I needed, instead of just kind of sitting on top like some plant oils will do. So tallow and blue tansy, wonderful combination. I'm really excited about it. So blue tansy can help the skin by reducing redness, irritation, and inflammation. And then of course, as we know, tallow can work so well to regenerate skin and soothe and nourish skin. All right, now that the tallow is completely melted down, nice and liquid, completely liquid, it's going to be very easy to just measure out exactly the amount that we need. I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of extra virgin and organic olive oil to my mixing bowl where I'm going to be making my balm. So for the liquid oil portion, this can be any skin-friendly liquid oil that you like. Olive oil is a really great just multi-purpose oil for this. You could use something like jojoba oil. You could use something like castor oil, can be nice in different applications, especially if you're doing like a cleansing balm. But the main reason that we add this is just because the tallow by itself tends to be quite hard, especially when it's high quality tallow. and this softens the balm so that it can whip nicely and just is nicer to use. And so 1/4 cup of the liquid oil, in this case olive oil, and then I'm going to measure 1 cup of my melted tallow. Add that to my mixing pitcher. Now this can be a mixing bowl, or it can be the bowl of a stand mixer. I'm going to be using a hand mixer today to do this, so I'm using this glass pitcher. I really like it. Then this next step is kind of optional. You can let this solidify on the counter, but what I like to do is put it in the freezer to solidify and just check on it frequently. I find that when you make it solidify very quickly, you get the smoothest consistency. Now when you're already using a very high quality tallow that is from like the leaf fat, sometimes called soot, around the internal organs like the kidneys, that's going to be the highest quality, smoothest, hardest, nicest fat, and you usually don't have to worry about it being gritty or grainy or anything. But if you're making tallow balm using trim fat, the fat that tends to turn out a lot softer, it's common for that to turn out into tallow balm that is gritty and has a gritty texture. And the reason that happens is when the tallow cools slowly, the fat molecules have time to clump together, and that makes that gritty texture. So it's really not the end of the world. It doesn't really affect the usability of the tallow. I find that it smooths right out on the skin, but it's not the nicest, and if you can avoid it, why not? So you can, if you are using soft trim fat tallow and you want to make balm and you still want it smooth, then try this trick of having the liquid mixture solidify very quickly in the freezer and then bring it out and whip it, and you'll find that it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to stick this in the freezer for now, and then we will come back and do the next step. All right, I have pulled this out of the freezer and it is ready to go on to our next step, which is my favorite step. It's the most fun, and that is whipping it into a whipped tallow balm. So you could also, before we put it into this pitcher, you could also keep it a solid balm if you wanted to, and just pour it into your container that you want to keep it in and let it solidify there. You would need to mix your blue tansy in before you did that. But my favorite by far is the whipped version, so that's what we're going to do. I pulled it out and you can see this is just perfect. So it's solidified. It's still soft enough that you can easily move it around. It's not frozen solid, but it's solidified. So I'm going to go ahead and start whipping this with my hand mixer, and once it's gotten to a certain point, then I'll go ahead and add my blue tansy essential oil. I start at a lower speed to begin with, and then I make it faster as it gets going. Sometimes you have to stop and scrape things down a little bit. And like I was saying before, you could do this in the bowl of a stand mixer and use the whip attachment for a stand mixer. That also works very nicely, especially if you're doing a really big batch. Okay, so at this point it's getting close. It's almost there. It will benefit from being whipped a bit longer just to make sure it's really nice and smooth. But at this point I'm going to go ahead and add my blue tansy essential oil. So the amount that you decide to add will depend on what you want to use it for, who you want to use it for. For adults, usually a 2% dilution works very nicely. For kids, I usually do either a 0.5% or 1% dilution. I'm going to do a 2% dilution for today. So what that will be is 48 drops of essential oil per cup of carrier tallow balm. So we had 1 cup. It's going to look like more since we're incorporating air into it by whipping it, but it's really essentially 1 cup, a little bit more. So if we add a few more extra drops, it'll be okay. So if you remember, we had 1 cup of tallow plus a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. So it's easiest to just say 48 drops added to 1 cup, and then just maybe add a few for good measure. So. Yeah. All right, so let's add the rest. That was 24. And the smell of this is one of my absolute favorites. It is such a beautiful smell. It is slightly minty, kind of herby, but in a really light, pleasant happy way, not deep or dark at all. So a little bit minty, a little bit herby, kind of sweet floral. It is gorgeous. It is one of my favorite essential oils just for the smell alone. So the fact that it has all these great soothing skin benefits is just extra. So now we're just going to incorporate that. I'll start at a slower speed and then get faster as I know that it's not going to splatter everywhere. So as you can see, it's turning into the most gorgeous light blue color as it mixes in. So nice. I'm going to get a spatula just to kind of scrape the sides a little bit more to make sure that everything's very well incorporated. Sometimes some bits of it can hang out on the top edge that don't get mixed in unless you scrape them down. So just going to do that. Whip one final time just until we're really happy with the texture. There we go. Now I can tell that it's really nice as it has come a little bit more to room temperature after coming out of the freezer. I can tell it's softened just a little bit more yet, and now it's nice and smooth, so it's great. And now it can go into a container of your choice. I always love glass. I like the shape of these jars. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have everything linked down in the description box down below the video in case you want to make this yourself, so you can find everything that I'm using. I'll have some already rendered tallow down there, this same exact blue tansy essential oil. I'll have these jars if you want them. So the thing about these jars is, I was saying, I like the shape of them, but since they curve out a little bit, you do have to kind of hit them a little bit to work it down in there. But yeah, I think they are a cute shape, so I use them. It's like clapping, huh? I have a helper over in the high chair right now. She's clapping. She liked the sound of the mixer going, and then this reminds you of clapping, huh? So there we have it. Gorgeous, beautiful color, amazing, fabulous benefits, gorgeous color. That's like one of my favorite things right there. So what are some of the ways that you can use this gorgeous concoction that we have just created? There's a lot of different ways that you can use this. So tallow balm and blue tansy both are kind of a multi-purpose, just general thing that's amazing for soothing the skin, as we talked about before. So you can't really go wrong. But what are some specific things that some people like these for? So some people use it for skin rashes, anytime that the skin is irritated or itchy, including some people use it for eczema. It can be great for diaper rash. I would use that lower dilution of like 0.5% if making it for babies. But it can be helpful for those types of rashes. Sometimes people use it for soothing sunburns. Sometimes it's helpful for soothing bug bites. Really anything that's itchy, irritated, inflamed, it can be great for. And then for the face, it has some really amazing benefits. So blue tansy essential oil has wonderful anti-inflammatory properties that can really help to calm acne. Some people really like to use it as an acne treatment topically. Some like to use it for anti-aging benefits, and again, paired with the tallow and all of those wonderful fat-soluble vitamins and the nutrients that's in especially grass-fed tallow, it is just a powerhouse for anti-aging properties. So really anybody can benefit from it. There's just so many different uses. Hopefully that gives you some ideas though, just to get started of what you could use it for. But then just having that wonderful, gorgeous smell from the blue tansy essential oil, it has its own benefits aside from the skin benefits. Smelling that beautiful smell as you're using it in your skincare routine is really nice. I especially like this in the evening because it has very calming benefits. The essential oil, as far as the scent, is calming and relaxing, and so it can be really just nice to incorporate into your skincare routine at the end of the day. All right, I hope that you really enjoyed coming along with me while I made this beautiful creation. I hope that you give it a try. Like I said, check out that description box for the links where you can find everything that you need to make this yourself. If you do try it, take a picture, tag me on Instagram. I would love to see how yours turned out and what you used it for. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and you might consider sharing it with somebody else who would enjoy seeing it. If you're new here, think about subscribing. I make videos on nourishing recipes and natural living. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.